The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. The Center for Autism and Related Disorders advises working with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live and to Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. I'm Shannon Penrod. Nancy Allspaw Jackson is still taking time off, but I think she might even be joining us back next week, which would be very exciting. Thrilled to be here with you on this Friday morning. We've got a lot to cover. Want to make sure that you know that we're going to be with you for the next hour and that there are lots of different ways that you can connect with us. So Traven's going to show you some of the different ways that you can connect. While he does that, I want to remind you that our homepage is autism-live.com, and you can chat with us there, or you can, lots of different ways that you can chat with us, right? Some of them he's showing you right now. But do want to let you know that you can chat from the main website and that we love to check in with you there. It's always free, the different ways to chat with us, and we aren't able to answer all the questions that you guys write in, but we do our level best. How's that? Also, we like to start Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy with news in things in the news. And of course, little disclaimer, we believe here at Autism Live that, there is no discriminating factor about autism. It affects everybody in all different areas of life, all religions, all nationalities, all ethnicities, and certainly all political backgrounds. And it doesn't discriminate. It's not partisan, is what I'm trying to say. And so we try to be as impartial as we can be here and report on things, political things that affect autism. That's really what we are interested in doing. We have put out feelers to the candidates and let them know that if they would like to come on the show to talk about their stance about autism, that we would be thrilled to have them on. Obviously, that goes across the board and across parties. That if somebody wants to come on the show to talk to us about their policies about autism, we will make time and room for them. I just want to make that abundantly clear. So, but there is one candidate who is a little bit different in this political field this year, because for the first time we have a dad of an individual who's on the autism spectrum who is a candidate and who is being forthcoming about that. That is the first time in my recollection that we have had that. And of course, I'm referring to Andrew Yang. In the last debate of 2019, one of the questions that was asked, and I got to say, everybody was like, what just happened? Did we just get taken into a new era? Because I'd certainly never seen this kind of a question asked before in a debate. The question was, what steps would the candidates take to help disabled people to get more integrated into the workforce and their local communities? Hey, great question. And something that I want an answer to. And of course, during the answer to that question, Andrew Yang was forthcoming about the fact that he is a parent of a child who was diagnosed with autism. We already knew that. He has not been hiding that. He has not made it his be-all, end-all platform because he's got a lot of things to talk about, but he's not been silent about it. But it was the first time in such a public forum that he had the opportunity to speak. I will say that there's a little bit of a firestorm around that because there are some in the autism community who feel that his policies around autism are not as flushed out as they need to be. I don't think that anybody has a specific issue. There is a concern that, because he's the one who has the policy that he wants to give everybody $1,000 a month, and there is a concern about what will that do to funding for disability programs. Will that mean that it takes the place of, and so those things still remain to be seen. There was an article that was done at NPR recently, and of course showing the yin and the yang of it. I wasn't even going for that pun, but having Yang speak about his early days as a parent and the diagnosis, we all can relate to that, right? But then on the flip side, because NPR tries to be open and fair, right? They interviewed Ari Neiman, who is one of the self-advocates who is he's a senior research associate at Harvard Law School's Project on Disability and the co-founder for the Autistic Self-Advocacy Network. And he said he welcomed some parts of Yang's plan, including his commitment to end seclusion as punishment in schools. He also praised Yang's call for increased funding for federal law called the Individual with Disabilities Education Act, which gives every child the right to accommodation services, but he has some concerns. Well, he wouldn't be Ari if he didn't, and I appreciate that, including the fact that Yang's proposals focus only on children rather than also including policy directed towards disabled adults. The quote is, "That's a sore spot in the disability community. Often you will see the public very quick to talk about cute disabled children, but when those children grow up, being very reluctant to provide supports and services in order to be able to have a life with dignity and independence," he says. So we will see. He goes on to say that Yang's proposal is limited in scope and lacking compared with disability policy platforms released by other candidates. So we're going to try to keep you posted on what all the candidates have to say. And like I said, if we have the opportunity to have any of them come in and talk about not about everything. I don't want to know about everything from them. They have plenty of other platforms in which to speak about those things. But if they want to come here and talk about their autism platform or even disabilities, we will make time and space to have a discussion with them. That is my pledge here. Okay, moving on. Want to point your attention to an article in Spectrum. We really love Spectrum. In their news section, it says, adolescent anxiety predicts later psychiatric diagnosis in autistic people. Lead investigator is Sebastian Lundstrom on this. He's the professor of neuropsychiatry, at the University of Gothenburg in Sweden. He says, "I have always been convinced that the associations with the greatest magnitude are due to neurodevelopmental conditions in childhood. People with anxiety are known to be at increased odds of having other psychiatric conditions such as anxiety and depression. And this second study confirmed that this trend in a group of autistic people in Minnesota. However, the Swedish study found that anxiety is predictive of other conditions regardless of an autism diagnosis." Well, I think, anxiety is prevalent in our community, and often we tend to go, "Oh, well, I'm sure that'll fix itself." That has not been my experience in life, and I'm somebody who has suffered from anxiety. I think it's really important that we get, and these two studies really reiterate this. It's important to look at this early and do interventions early, which is not necessarily medical, although doesn't preclude medical. But if you want to know if anxiety is a thing that you're dealing with and you've got a teenager, I want to encourage you to go to Spectrum and read the entire article on this and look and see. I know none of us wants to have our child have a secondary diagnosis to autism, but if they do, let's treat it, is the thing. So take a look at that article if you will. Okay, moving on. Our next story is about early treatment for autism. This was in the New York Times this last weekend. In December, the American Academy of Pediatrics put out a new clinical report on autism, an extensive document with an enormous list of references summarizing 12 years of intense research and clinical activity. During this time, the diagnostic criteria's changed. Asperger's syndrome and pervasive development disorder diagnostic categories that once included many children are no longer used. We now consider all these children and adults to have autism spectrum disorder or ASD. They go on to talk about a lot of different things, but one of the biggest takeaways for this is that early treatment for autism is critical. Now, I know it's like the duh heard round the world. We already knew this, I think, unless you've been hiding under a rock, I think that most people knew this. But when the American Academy of Pediatrics says it, it's got more teeth in it, which means we can get more funding, which we can get more people off the couch, which is what we really need to do. And especially when just 2 years ago, the entity that recommends testing said that they didn't think that early testing for autism was essential. And they did not include it in their recommendations for young pediatricians. So how are you going to get there if it's not required that they test 2-year-olds? What this says to me is that now what this does is that every parent within the sound of my voice tell 5 parents, when you have young ones on the spectrum, you go and you tell the pediatrician that you want them to be evaluated for autism. They really are supposed to be doing it. There's a screening that's supposed to be done for kids at 1 year and at 2 years, and they're supposed to do it for all children. It's complicated because that other entity was like, we don't think it's that important. Thank you so much. Please go home. We don't want to listen to them. But advocate, because, and say to them, I want my child screened because the American Academy of Pediatrics says that early intervention is critical, and so I want my child screened to see if that's something. I know that's an uphill battle. But please, if you go and tell 5 parents, one of them who needs to hear it is going to hear it and go, and you're going to save them years. And what you will have saved that child is absolutely amazing. So early intervention, it's critical, and so says the AMA. All right, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we are going to have Cassidy Smith from Hape. I've said it a million different ways. He's going to tell us how to correctly say it. He is the VP of Sales and Marketing for Hape. They are one of the companies that we absolutely fell in love with in our last toy guide. Good wood toys, good old-fashioned wood toys on steroids, because they're not just old-fashioned, they're beyond belief fabulous. So we're going to be talking with him, and then a little bit later on in the program we have Vanessa Leonard, who is an educational therapist, and she's going to be with us talking about several things, but the stigma of having a behaviorist in the classroom and how we can overcome that. So all of that, plus comments from you guys coming up after these messages. Stick with us. Welcome back to Autism Live. Joining us via Skype right now is Cassidy Smith. He is the VP of Sales and Marketing for Hape, a really wonderful toy company that we featured in the 2019 Autism Live Toy and Gift Guide. So, Cassidy, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
We're thrilled to have you. So talk to us a little bit about this brand, because we're in love, but tell us a little bit of background about Hape and what you do.
Absolutely. Well, I'm the VP of Sales. I've been with Hape now for 17 years. The company itself is it's been founded since 1986, and its focus really has been on more eco-design. We were the first to bring bamboo as a material to the toy industry, but ultimately it's about having multiple play value with our toys, and also using water-based paints and things that are very safe for children.
Well, we absolutely loved your toys, and every year we put out a toy guide around the holiday season to help parents to make good choices. It's so hard. Money is limited when you have a child with special needs, and you feel the need, you want to give them all the things that you would give any child, right? And yet you want to give them more. You want to give them the toy that ignites their imagination, the toy that helps them to learn the thing that's been hard for them, but makes it feel like it's happy and joyous. And you want a toy that's going to last, that has the potential to be passed down to other children in the family, maybe even other generations. And so those are the kinds of things we're looking for when we review toys. And I got to say, you guys hit it right out of the park, because sometimes it's very funny, and this is the reason why we started doing the toy guide, because parents will look at a toy, and sometimes a toy that doesn't have flashing lights, they'll walk past it and not realize that that's the toy that's going to have really light up your kid. And you have behind you one of the toys that we chose for this year's toy guide, the snail, the walk along snail, and there Traven's got a picture of it. And I can guarantee you that there are so many parents who would walk past this toy and not realize. But I got to say, it's always interesting after the holidays are over to hear from the parents who went out and used our toy guide and bought toys and what they absolutely loved. And we have already gotten multiple messages from parents saying that this is the best toy ever. So let's talk a little bit about, do you want to take it down from the shelf and show?
Yeah, let's do it.
I gave away all the ones you gave me, so I don't have any here to show. But
I love to play, so let's do this.
Me too. First of all, he's cute as he can be, but he's very deceptive, because it looks like your traditional pull toy, but a lot of people don't understand why a pull toy is so awesome. That a pull toy is all about cause and effect, and it gets your child to be using different muscles to be able to do things and pull a toy behind them, and it's of interest. But show them are we able to see your desktop if you show us what happens when you pull him?
Well, I can do this so you can see. So if I'm pulling him, again, this is going to rotate.
Yes.
As the pull toy, but what Hape really does a great job, the designers do, is think about the multiple play value. So it's not just a pull toy, but now you have the shape sorter.
Yes. And every child needs a shape sorter. Like, it's a requirement. You got to have it. It's a thing that's going to help them with grasp, and you're going to be able to work on shapes and colors and about fitting things into the right hole. We have that joke about trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. Every child needs to have this experience. It's going to help them with so many things: gross motor, fine motor, but also understanding concepts that are really important, like space and shape and color and all those other things. So the fact that these two things go together, that it's a pull toy and it's a shape sorter, and that when you pull the toy that the shape sorter rotates, I'm telling you, the kids go gazonga, and you can do so many different things with this toy. We absolutely loved this toy. Do you get a lot of people ranting about how great this toy is?
There's a few. This one specifically is one of our most popular, and we have another that has that whole multiple play value with the action reward called our pound and tap bench, which has a musical aspect and a pounding ball bench. So it's thinking about these things that can help with sensory development and just have that multiple play value with our toys.
I love that. I love that term, multiple play value. I'm gonna borrow that from you.
Please do.
There was another toy that we featured too that was another shape sorter that you had, which is the shake and match shape sorter. Do you by any chance have that one there too, or Traven, can you show?
You know what? Unfortunately, I don't have that one.
That's
That
okay.
one
We've
sold
got a
out.
picture. Well, and for good reason. But Traven's showing it on the screen right now. So if you had if you already had a pull toy and you just needed the shape sorter, and I'm telling you, it's a requirement. Every child needs to have one of these. But I think why not get one that can do multiple things, that multiple play value that you were talking about. And one of the things that, because we took all the toys that we had and we put a bunch of people in a room and we had kiddos of all ages and all abilities play, and we had the therapists play with them and we had parents play with them. And everybody in every category kept coming back to this toy because there were so many different things that you could do with it, and there were so many aspects to it that we really loved. We love the fact that it's a wooden toy. We love the fact that it's so eco-friendly. We love the color schemes that you do on your toys. We just thought that those were amazing. And we loved that there were, that inside each one of the blocks that goes into the shape sorter, that you had surprises that had, you could shake and that made a sound and that were colorful, because it just took the level of the toy up. And for kiddos that were on the autism spectrum, it meant that they spent more time with the toy.
Yes.
Then
And I think you hit it on the head in regards to the shapes having little sounds inside. So again, that sensory development and giving that little bit of extra. It's not just a shape sorter, it's helping them develop as well.
And the other thing that is on both toys with the shape sorter that we really loved is that, because for parents, it's also about how do we store the toy, how do we put the toy away, how does the toy, all the pieces stay with the toy. And you guys have these wonderful elastic bands that go over, so I can quickly put the shapes into the shape sorter, and they do not immediately come right back out. I can get them back out and it's not a big deal, but if I turn the toy over, they don't all fall out, which a lot of shape sorters, either I have only the choice that I have to unlock something, which,
Yep.
heaven help me, or it's a big gaping hole and everything falls out, and then we go to play with the toy and the pieces aren't there, which is not what I need when my child's got therapy. I mean, there's so many things. So we love those little red elastic bands, made us so happy. So please tell the people who are making your toys, thank you for thinking of us.
I absolutely will.
So those are just and those were the two that we fell the most in love with, but you guys have a whole line of toys. Where can people go to see the full line of toys, and where can they go to purchase them?
Well, honestly, I would look at your local specialty retailer. They're all over the place. There's an actual organization called Astra, and you can go to their website that can show you all of the stores in your area. And it's nice to support local and in your community. So I would definitely advise people to go look at that site, or even the Hape.com, which we reference all of our specialty toy retailers.
Okay, now here's the tough question I didn't tell you I was going to ask you.
Okay.
And this is going to be terrible. It's going to be like Sophie's Choice. What's your what's your favorite Hape toy?
Well, if I'd like to make it specific in regards to autism, if I could.
Yes, please.
And actually, I want to slide it on over here.
Okay, he's prepared.
I love our little forest animal tactile puzzle because of, again, all the textures. So you take the moose away and then it actually has this nice carpeted little texture there. And it also is a color match. So if I took the owl away, it color matches to that, and it's the texture little fuzzy owl, or you have the fox, and then you can see the different fur on that. So I really feel like there are so many different categories that I could recommend you to, but when I start thinking about this, we're so good at puzzles, and I feel like this one in regards to textures would really capture children with autism quite well.
I love that, and I love that each texture is different, and and I love the color match. That's all part of, we talk about errorless learning, because that's helping giving them clues so that they're going to get it right. Well, we just think that you guys are doing an amazing job. I love, please support your Astra toy stores, you guys. Go and see all the toys that they have there. But when you get there, ask, where's your Hape section? We did a little a video of a bunch of our toy winners and went to an Astra toy store, the Miracle Mile toy store, and did that right before the holidays too. And we talked about the snail while we were there because we love the snail so much. But I want to thank you guys for making good toys, because heaven knows in this environment we need good toy makers, because these are the answers to all the questions that we have. So thank you so much.
No, and thank you for all you do. I mean, honestly, these extra steps of guiding and helping parents on their toy selections, it can be overwhelming. And I guess the biggest thing that parents just need to understand is, children do not play to learn. Children learn because they play. So just let them play, find out what toys they're interested in, and just make sure that they're having fun and they're getting that sensory development.
Absolutely love it. Great advice. Thank you so much, and give our love to everybody there at Hape.
Absolutely.
You take care.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Absolutely loved. You can't imagine. It was very overwhelming for us because we had so many submissions of so many toys, but these were two that just rocketed right to the top, because we loved the construction, the thought, as he said, the multi-level play value. Woo, right? That gets me excited, because I love some toys. All right, we are going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to welcome our next guest, who is here with us, Vanessa Leonard. She's an educational therapist, and she's got some really interesting information for us, so stick with us.
Do you provide care services to someone with autism? Recently, more and more children are being diagnosed with the condition and getting the support they need as awareness grows. But what happens to these children as they grow up? It's estimated that over 500,000 youth with autism will turn 18 in the next decade, and they'll be faced with a very difficult reality. As children with autism grow up, their services start to disappear or become very difficult to access. Things like medical care, mental health counseling, vocational training, and more. All services that are still desperately needed. The loss of support that youth with autism face as they grow up is so severe that it's referred to in the autism community as falling off a cliff. Adults with autism need the same level of support they had as children to avoid falling off the services cliff. Introducing Skills Living, the web-based software designed specifically to help transitioning youth and adults with autism so they can avoid the cliff and instead fly to success. With Skills Living, help your learner with autism develop the skills they need in all the critical areas of adult life, including self-control, planning, and problem-solving, effective communication, performing life skill tasks for independent living, acquiring and maintaining employment or other meaningful activities, developing and maintaining social skills and relationships, accessing transportation and public services, and being safe. Skills Living includes a comprehensive assessment, a data collection mobile app, behavior intervention plan builder, and automatic progress reporting. It also provides a complete curriculum addressing 16 key areas spanning the entire range of functioning adulthood. Skills Living is easy to use and can be implemented by schools, parents, and autism service providers. Call or click today for your free demo and see how Skills Living can help your learner with autism avoid the cliff and instead reach their fullest potential. Skills Living. Wish, learn, become.
Parent to parent, having a compliant child is one of the greatest things on earth. But frequently we ask ourselves, why doesn't my child listen? Well, here are some tips to help us to get a listening, happy, compliant child. First, we want to make sure that we make compliance worthwhile. Whenever your child does something that's compliant, make sure that you praise them and heap rewards on them that are meaningful to them, things they really want. One of the things that we have to be mindful of is that if the child isn't compliant, we have to praise more often. Just heap it on. If you say to yourself, there's nothing to praise, they're not doing anything that I want them to do, then ask them to do something that they already want to do. This is a really tricky way of being able to praise them. And then, of course, the last thing that we want to do is catch them doing good things when they least suspect it. And make sure you heap that praise on, because having a compliant child is one of the best things in life. Token economies are a great way to get to good behavior with your child.
You say howdy, we say hi. Let's get rowdy, let's get wild. Let's get wild. Let's get wild. Let's get wild. Let's get wild.
Hi there, I'm Lisa Ackerman. Welcome to the show. So the goal of today, we're going to make meatballs. Let's get started. So again, I'm going to take roughly a pound of my ground organic turkey, and I'm going to add in the secret vegetable. So if your kid doesn't like vegetables, don't cook in front of them, okay? Have them watch a movie or something. But you definitely want to make sure they're not watching, because then they won't eat it. So, and here we go with the egg. And our breadcrumbs. I'm just adding salt and pepper to taste. If you think about kids' shapes and sizes, you want to think small shapes, small hands. So your oven should be preheating at about 400 degrees. We're going to kick into the oven here and look at our meatballs. I did flip them halfway through the 20-odd minute. So we'll put, just like Julia Child's, there's our finished product right there. These are good. Cooking is easy. You don't have to be afraid of it. But we want to hear from you. If you can let us know what recipes are important to you, maybe convert a recipe from a traditional flour or gluten-based to a gluten-free or an allergy-free, we're here to help. So you get to us. You can email us at autismlive@gmail.com. You can reach out on Facebook at facebook.com/autismlive, or reach out at Talk Now. So I know you're having a great day. I had a lot of fun cooking with you in the kitchen, but I'll tell you, before we end, I gotta have more meatballs. Have a great day.
You say howdy, we say hi. Let's get rowdy, let's get wild. Let's get wild.
Welcome back, you guys. I'm so busy being chatty Kathy because our next guest is somebody who's warm and fabulous and somebody you want to sit and have chatty Kathy time with. I'm talking about Vanessa Leonard. She's an educational therapist. It's slightly different. She's a clinical behaviorist and educational therapist that offers both services to both adults and children of all ages with learning and behavioral challenges. I can't talk anymore. She has a BA in psychology with a double minor in applied developmental psychology and education and information studies from UCLA. She's got a master's in education from Loyola Marymount, so she's qualified and been busy. And she's currently serving clients in the Los Angeles area. So Vanessa Leonard, welcome to Autism Live.
Thank you for having me.
We're really thrilled to have you and want to talk about a bunch of different things, but excited that you're here. Let's start, though, by telling people if they're in the Los Angeles area and want to get in touch with you, would like to participate in some of the services that you have, where could they find you?
You can easily find me at Educational Therapy on Instagram. It's a great, I'm very active on there, and I love posting about special needs and all kinds of study tips, actually, for people all over the spectrum.
Wonderful.
And then I also have a website, VanessaLeonardScarborough.com, and you can find me there.
All right, and before we're done, and maybe now is a good time to do it. This covers this is a wide variety, but what kinds of things would bring someone to your office? What kinds of things do you specialize in?
I primarily work with people that have a cluster. So it could be autism with ADHD or autism with ADHD, ADD, both. And I also work with gifted clients that their parents are frustrated because they have them in a school and the school just isn't meeting their needs because it isn't challenging enough. So trying to kind of bring them to the next level in their learning and education-wise makes a huge difference.
What a wonderful, wonderful thing to do. That's fabulous. So one of the things that we wanted to talk to you about specifically was the stigma of having a behaviorist in the classroom. Because I know a lot of people are like, well, we can talk to them. People write in the show and say, what do I do about this? And we say, well, you know, here's the step. And they go, oh, if it's in the classroom, you know, I don't want to ask for anything. I don't want to tick anybody off. I don't want to have anybody there that, you know, identifies my child as being different, and they kind of shut down because there is a stigma they feel.
Right.
So talk to us a little bit about what your point of view on that is.
I guess it's, you know, it's so much more prevalent now in our society that there's so many more either, you know, one-on-ones in the classroom facilitators, behaviorists. There's just a lot more adults in the classroom.
Yeah.
And I think that our kids, especially in high school, they're so much older than they were when we were young. You know, they're into social media, you know. And I think that having a behaviorist can make them feel like, I don't know, is everyone looking at me? Why do I need this special help? And so I think the best thing is to collaborate. Everybody has to be a team, including the parent, the principal, the service provider, and to communicate a lot and to make that adult in the classroom kind of serve everybody, because then that student doesn't feel so stigmatized.
I love
think.
that.
Yeah.
I love that. So a way of, and I do think, gosh, you know, I'm all about inclusion when possible.
Sure.
Right? And although I remember somebody explaining to me, you know, Shannon, you're about inclusion because you think it's going to be good inclusion. And that often we have people who don't understand how to do good inclusion. So what you have is somebody who stands directly over the child and over prompts. Oh. And I think that's the thing that everybody's so concerned about, right? But the picture that you're painting is vastly different. Talk about what you think it looks like in a classroom.
Because I think the facilitated help in the classroom is about access to the curriculum, but without being overbearing, like you're saying, hovering over, helicoptering, and you know. But I think now, especially in older children, the teachers in the classroom are making more group work.
Yes.
So I think in those situations, it's much more easier for the adult to blend in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Wonderful. I also know an area of expertise for you is that whole transition from high school to adult life. We have a lot of viewers who have questions about that, about like, you know, do I send my child to a trade school? Do I send them to a college program, and which college program, depending on how, you know. So talk to us a little bit about what you...
I think that there's just so much ease during the school years when you can send your child to school and you know, okay, you know, I'm setting them for the day, they're going to have a great day, and there's that ease of picking up at the end of the day. But then you're faced with, okay, we're coming close to graduation, what do I do?
Yeah.
And I think 16 is that imperative age where you need to come up with a plan. You know, are they going to go to a group home? Are they going to have a day program and employment? Are they going to go to school? And what are the realistic plans for going to school? Do they need support at school? And I think really reaching out to your community is really going to help that transition, and to be realistic and to not put too much pressure on yourself as a parent, but just take it as it comes. Yeah.
I so appreciate you hearing you say those things, because I know a lot of people, I mean, in very real terms, my son is 16 and a half, right? I'm very fortunate that my son got everything that like anybody could need and did very well with it. So let's say that we worked hard and got very lucky. So I had the time when he was 14 to sort of look ahead.
Sure.
And go, oh, where are we going? Where are we trying to get to? And he was sending me signals saying, this is what I want to do. So I just want to be clear that I'm stupid lucky, and I'm in total gratitude, and that is not everybody else's story. And I have lots of friends that is not their story, where when their kiddos were 14, they were still trying to figure out the 14, so they didn't have the time to look at what's happening at 16 and what's happening at 18. Right. And a lot of times that's sort of the thing, right? So you don't have the time, so now all of a sudden it's 16 or about to graduate, and they're like, I don't know.
Right, and really narrowing down what are those vocational interests, and maybe taking like a battery of tests to figure out what are they truly interested in. Because sometimes, like as adults and being typical, we don't even know sometimes what we wanted to do when we were young, and you know, saying, oh, they're going to be employed, that could be volunteer work. It could be 3 hours a week. It doesn't have to be this 40-hour-a-week job that most of us have. It can be something small, but those are stepping stones to something much greater.
Well, and I love comparing it to, because we all went through that phase at some point, right? Everybody. And one of the things that I think we leave out when it's our young adults on the autism spectrum is that, maybe you don't know exactly what the right answer is, but you try something. And if it doesn't work, you can change your mind again.
That's right.
Right? And a lot of times we think, well, no, we made that plan. It's got to work. I don't have a plan B. We can't change it to something else. But we absolutely, in fact, everybody that I know, everyone on the spectrum, not on the spectrum, had at least some moment in their life where they were like, yeah, I planned that, but that's not working out the way I thought it was. It's not what I thought it was going to be, and so now I'm going to go do this. That's okay.
Yeah, changing paths is, really acceptable. I think it's a good thing.
But what do you tell them to do when people are looking? Like, what are the things that, so if they think, okay, let's just take, for instance, that we've got a young person who's got some issues that they're going to need some support.
Right.
But they say, I want to own a pet store. Right? And the person goes, I don't know, where do you send somebody to start that? What kinds of things can they go to look at if they're just, because they could go to a trade school and learn some things from there.
So you've got an example of an interest. Okay, so working with animals and owning a pet shop, which is a wonderful, fantastic, huge goal, right?
Yeah.
Love it. Volunteer at a shelter, the Humane Society, and you can actually just take dogs on walks during the day, just kind of like getting a feel for it, and then maybe getting a job pet sitting.
There you go.
And just keep building on that little by little, and then you can just, like how people started babysitting, and then they have a nanny agency. It's starting small and then building upon it. Yeah.
Which leads me to our next question, which is how to be an advocate for your own child, family, when you have an individual in your family who has got an autism diagnosis. Like, what do you recommend to us how to be the best advocate? Because a lot of us are advocating, but we're not necessarily being the best advocate that we could be. We spin our wheels sometimes.
Don't we? Yeah. I think that this is one of the benefits of social media today, is that we can reach out to people all over the world to support us. And I think that speaking with your school psychologist, maybe your own child psychologist that you have, the resource teacher, just every single person to network with, so that you're aware of every single possibility and how to support your child, but at the same time being realistic and setting boundaries with time, because you can get so involved at this that you're not caring for yourself, which makes you a poor advocate. So I think it's all about self-care and networking and boundaries.
Oh, I love that. And so when you have clients that come to you, do you also advise the parents about how to advocate?
I do, because I get a lot of questions on who's the best specialist for specific things. Yeah.
Do you keep like a list of people that you recommend?
I do.
We all like to have that.
I just wish they were all close to where the clients are, because distance is always a problem.
I have said for years, one of the things that I wished we could do, and it's still in the back of my mind, is that because we have viewers from all over the world, right? But primarily here in the United States, that's our biggest viewership. And it's so different from state to state. What's available in terms of funding and specialists and who to go to. And I wish that we had somebody in every state that, because that there are moms who know this information. Like, here's who you go to, here's the dentist, here's the person who cuts the hair. I wish that we had somebody on the ground in every state who could give us the skinny on all that information, at a moment's notice.
Like a special needs directory.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And several places have tried to start a special needs directory, and that's a huge undertaking.
It is.
That's a huge undertaking.
Because there's so many providers and so many specialists that, it's just so
and a lot of
huge.
it is opinion driven,
Yes.
right? So
I agree.
But you know, I love dropping in on different groups, like in different on different websites, but in particular, Taka has a lot of groups that they have their coffee talk groups, and you can drop in and ask, and there's a group of 20 people, and they will tell you exactly, you know, who to go to, where to go to.
Which is wonderful.
And you don't get just one opinion, you get 20 opinions. But I'm sure that they would want to know your opinions about who these people are. So again, where can people reach you?
At Educational Therapy, that's my Instagram handle, and also my website is vanessaleonardscarborough.com.
It's very hip of you that it's the first answer is Instagram. I don't pretend to understand Instagram. I have to keep young people working on my team because I don't get the whole Instagram thing. So very hip and fabulous of you that that's the first thing. Boy, I'm impressed. One last question for you. Why this field? Why did you get into this?
You know, it's funny you say that because it was during my undergraduate career, and I happened to fall in a series with Dr. Ivar Lovaas, and he just made me fall in love with it, and I discovered a special patience that I had with this community that I don't have in other areas of my life. So I thought, this is my calling.
I love that.
Most definitely.
What a wonderful one. Well, I'm so glad that you discovered that. And doesn't that make everybody happy to know that there are people that do have special patience? Not patience as in patience that you're clients,
yes.
Patience as in the ability to just hang and be there and be with someone and let them be who they are.
To not get flustered and to remain calm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Absolutely love that. Well, thank you. We're richer for having you in our community.
Thank you for having me.
All right, you guys, we're going to take a break and then we're going to come back to close out the show. Stick with us. Parent to parent, you might be asking yourself sometimes, why does my child have meltdowns? Well, the difference between tantrums and meltdowns, they're a part of typical development, but meltdowns are when things get a little bit more out of control, when even the child isn't sure what's entirely wrong. Generally with a meltdown, there's an environmental component. There's something else going on outside the child that's making the tantrum worse. It's really important that we start to be detectives and take notes and look around at the environment and start to figure out what are the things that happen every time your child has a meltdown. And lastly, it's important to get help. You really can't face these kinds of things effectively completely on your own. Tantrums, they're a part of typical development, but don't accept meltdowns as something that just happens. Make sure you get help and support. You might be asking yourself if your child has autism.
You say howdy, we say hi. Let's get rowdy, let's get wild. Let's get wild. Let's get wild. Let's get wild. Let's get wild.
Hi, welcome back to Autism Live. I'm Lisa Ackerman. We're here doing allergy-free cooking, and I brought my sister with me today.
Jamie Davis, thanks for having me.
A lot of people are asking about an allergy-free breakfast, and breakfast can be full of crap.
But it's full of
cereal.
crap, and it's hard to do. We don't have time in the morning. We're in a hurry.
We're going completely nut-free. The recipe is not
Personality, we can't do anything about.
Yeah, can't do anything about that. So we're going to start off first with I'm using sorghum and brown rice flour. I find the texture good, and I've added some flaxseed meal. We talked about that last time, flaxseed meal for poop. Almost every one of our kids has a poop issue. What's next on the recipe is the quinoa flakes, baking powder, cinnamon, and the xanthan gum. It brings the glutinous texture back into the flour, and often what happens with these recipes is they can fall apart. This one holds up nicely. I like it. For the folks that are egg-free, we have a ton of egg replacers. One of those can be the arrowroot starch or bringing back some additional flaxseed. So there's a lot of options to go eggless, but we're going to go egg full in this one. For sweetener, I use the maple syrup. I stay away from refined sugar. What I'm adding now is the coconut milk, maple syrup, and a little bit of the coconut oil. And we're going to add in the raisins, craisins, and chocolate chips at the end. I find that chocolate chips can coax people to eat some really amazing things. When we started, Jeff had 42 food allergies, so we had to get creative in how we cooked. So nuts were a big, big issue. What I like now is that he can tolerate so many more things after start doing this diet. So let me show you how you can deal with this sticky stuff here. You get your fingers really wet, and you can push it down. So my oven has been preheated. It's at 350 degrees. So we're gonna just throw this in. Like I said, I like it around 23 minutes, and the magic oven says, I'm done. Looks like, don't you love magic ovens? They're awesome. Here we go, pops right out. The texture of these, and it's so pretty. It looks almost like a big chocolate chip cookie, but you actually made it healthy. But you can be my guinea pig. Tell me what you think.
That looks really good.
Doesn't it? So the textures and the colors in there are just beautiful. So the raisins are for you, the chocolate chips are for your kid.
I can't believe it's gluten-free.
I know, right? It doesn't taste like, crap. We're wrapping up another cooking show. If you have feedback, you can email us at autismlive@gmail.com. We're, of course, on Facebook. You could go to facebook.com/autismlive. And of course, Talkin' Now has thousands of recipes. Join me there, and we can cook some more later on. So thanks for joining us.
You say howdy, we say hi. Let's get rowdy, let's get wild. Let's get wild.
Welcome back to Autism Live. On this first week of our live shows back in 2020, we've got just a couple of minutes here left at the end of the show, and I wanted to take the opportunity to do something very publicly that I've wanted to do for a while. And this came about in a very interesting way. On Christmas Eve, as I was gathered with friends and family, something came up, and I told a story about one of my heroes, and everybody said to me, "Oh my gosh, you need to tell her. You need to tell her this story." And I was like, well, I guess sometime if I have the opportunity, I'll find. And they were like, no, you need to tell her this story because it would mean a lot to her. And then we were watching the Golden Globes. And of course, the hero that I'm referring to is Ellen DeGeneres, who has been a part of our story. I've respected and admired her for decades. And, I was a stand-up comedian, and she was somebody that I looked up to. And as another female stand-up comedian, I just thought that she was remarkable and loved both of her sitcoms. And then when she got her talk show, was just like thrilled and excited for her. And of course, my mother loved Ellen DeGeneres. Now, we saw on Sunday night that she got a very special, the Carol Burnett Comedy Award. So deserved, right? But one of the things that she said very emotionally when she stood up is that her favorite thing is knowing that her show has made a difference. So, and here we had just had this discussion about something that happened with her on Christmas Eve, and people were saying, you need to tell her. So here it is. I'm gonna say this, and hopefully it will get to her. But my mother loved Ellen, and as did and do I. And my mother was coming to visit. And this is when we were in the deep throes of autism intervention with my son. And she was coming to help and to stick around, and she was going to be here for pretty much the month of December. And I wanted to make sure that I did something for her in the middle of all this that would be just like wonderful for her. And so months before, I put in a request to get tickets to a taping of Ellen. And I didn't tell my mother because I didn't know if we were going to get them. And then finally we got them. I got 4 tickets to go to an Ellen taping, and invited 2 friends to come with me. See, I'm already crying. With me and my mother. And as the date got closer, one of the friends said, oh my gosh, I think we're going to be there during the 12 days of giveaways, the 12 days of Christmas. And I was like, oh, I don't think so, because we just ordered regular tickets, whatever. And she said, no, I think that's, so we arrived that morning, and they were taping 2 shows, and all these people were coming out and talking about how they got Kate Spade bags. And my mother was so excited because she was going to meet Ellen, and she was going to win something that was free, which, come on, let's face it, that's one of the great things in life when you get something for free. It's just so exciting, right? And so she was so excited. I got to spend the whole day with my mother, because you pretty much had to wait in line, and I got to spend the whole day with her while therapists and my husband were taking care of our son. It was just time out of time. And it was a good day. You know those good days that you have. And then, of course, we went in. See, I'm so emotional. We went in and we saw the taping, and Ellen was amazing, like she always is. And we won this whole package for the TV. We won TiVos and VCRs and a stereo surround system. Everybody won one. So my mother won one, I won one, each one of my friends won one. It was very exciting. My mother, who was handicapped, was jumping up and down. I don't think I'd ever seen my mother jump up and down. She was so excited. It was so thrilling. And it was wonderful. Now, one of the things that my mother did, my mother was a knitter, and she because I told her with a month advance, we're going to go, I got us tickets to be on the Ellen, to watch, not be on, but to, watch. And so my mother, who knitted these fabulous slippers that looked more like crazy pot holders than anything else, she was going to knit, not for Ellen, she wanted to knit her wife a pair of slippers. And my mother was determined that she was going to do this. And so, but she did, and normally they were ugly pot holders to begin with, but if she did them in a fun yarn, then they would be pretty. But because my mother was from Iowa, she determined that she was going to make them look like corn on the cob. So they were green they were the ugliest things I have ever seen in my life. But my mother gave them to one of the production assistants and was convinced that Portia was wearing these corn on the cob slippers, and I assure you that probably never happened. But she was warm in the knowledge that she had done this for Portia. Okay, wonderful. So years later, my mother was diagnosed with a rare form of cancer, and it was a very quick process, and way quicker than any of us could have imagined, took the wind out of all of us. And she knew that she was about to die. She knew that it was her last day on earth. And I was with her, and each one of us, she had asked to stop everything because there was nothing that could be done. And each one of us got a period of time to sit with her and talk, the last conversation you're going to have with your mother, right? And I was holding her hand, and we were talking about this amazing life that she had led and all these amazing things that she did and the good days that we had. And on the last day of her life, with minutes before, and knowing that she was going to die, she said, Ellen, remember the day we went to Ellen? She said, that was the best day. So I just wanted to say to Ellen, thank you. Because it was a wonderful day, and it culminated with this wonderful thing that we continue to talk about even on my mother's deathbed. If you're not 100% sure, I want you to know you make a difference. So, Ellen, that's all the time that we have today. We are going to be back on Monday, and we've got an amazing show for you on Monday. We've got a special education attorney, Bonnie Yates, is going to be with us, and we're going to be answering some of those questions about your FAPE, free appropriate public education, and a great set of shows next week. We'll be back then. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me and one for you too. Bye-bye for now.